It's easier to indulge in rhetoric that talks of love jihad, quote unquote, than it is to acknowledge the fact that one in every three Indian women are likely to have experienced violence in their personal relationships at some point. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo Story. On the program today, we continue to look at the Shraddha murder case, the horrific case where a young woman was killed, her body chopped up into pieces by her partner Aftab. What we know now is even more chilling. We know that in 2020, Shraddha virtually forecast the way she was going to die, writing to the police in Maharashtra saying that her partner had threatened to chop her body into pieces. But now the case is being communalized. Politicians of the BJP, including the Assam chief minister, are talking about love jihad. They are saying there will be many more aftabs if love jihad is not addressed. But is love jihad really the story? Or is it actually a distraction to talk about what is really commonplace? How we as women actually experience what is called intimate partner violence. That is, abuse at the hands of a man we trust, a man we may be married to, a man we're dating, an enemy within the circle of trust. On the program today, why the cloak of love jihad actually hides a much more horrific truth that women find it incredibly difficult to walk out of abusive relationships. That Shraddha herself alerted the police to her abuse in 2020, but till 2022, she was still in that relationship, eventually killed by her partner. Let's introduce our guests on the program today. We're joined by Meera Chopra, who's an actor, but who has also been writing and commenting on this case very, very bluntly. And we'll be glad to have her perspective in a moment from now. Also joining us is Meeran Borwankar. She's, of course, been the police commissioner of Pune, a veteran IPS officer at a time when the role of the police has also got politicized. The BJP wants to know why the police, when it was reporting to Uddhav Thackeray, did not act on Shraddha's complaint to the police in 2020. Also joining us is well-known lawyer and rights activist Vibha Makhija, who's done a lot of work in the space of domestic violence and domestic abuse. And also joining us on the program today is Shraddha's friend, someone she actually spoke to more than once about the fact that she was being abused by Aftab, Rajat Shukla. Thank you so much, Rajat, for sharing your story at a time of loss and grieving, and we really appreciate it. And we hope in a moment from now, Lalitha Kumaramangalam, who has headed the National Commission for Women and who is also a leader of the BJP, will be able to join the broadcast as well. I want to actually, uh, you know, take all of you through the letter that Shraddha wrote to the police in 2020 and then open it up. This is virtually a forecast. She spoke to the police about, in writing, about how Aftab was trying to kill her and said that Aftab had threatened to chop her into pieces. This was more than 2 years ago. She literally had a sense of what was coming in this very, very bone chilling letter that has now made its way into the public domain. And since this letter has made its way into the public domain, a lot of people are actually asking why the police did not act. Right? The police says that Shraddha actually withdrew her complaint subsequently, which is a classic thing that happens in domestic violence cases. This is what the police has been actually saying. Now, I want to bring in Vibha Makhija to talk a little bit about whether we are missing the real story here. And the real story is the uncomfortable question about what women go through in personal relationships, how commonplace domestic abuse is. 30% of all Indian women say they have experienced domestic abuse at some point. Vibha, let me get your first thoughts. Are we missing the real story? Are we missing the real conversation that we should be having in this case?
Yes, I definitely think so because the way I see it, what I have pieced together from all the media reports, is that this was an extremely abusive relationship out of which Shraddha refused to step out. Not only did she hesitate in doing it, to my mind, I don't think she had any support to be able to step out of this relationship. The first point is to recognize that you're in an abusive relationship and to ask whether the law helps us to do that. On paper, definitely yes. We definitely have a very effective law, which is the Domestic Violence Act. However, I don't think its outreach is within the public's, knowledge. I don't think the public is really aware of all the things that they can reach out to and all the support systems. What I find essentially is that there is no trusted support that a victim gets. So when the family, which is the first point of support, withdraws itself, which appears to be the case here, the second support system that people look out to is the police. However, the police is something which is very intimidating, and therefore, the Domestic Violence Act actually provides you counselors, it provides you protection officers. And the unfortunate part is that the public is really not aware that these are the support systems they must reach out to. And not just Shraddha. Here we have Rajat Shukla over here. The Act provides that anybody who's aware of an abusive relationship must bring it to the fore, and that person can be a complainant too, and can also take the advantage of the support system that the Act provides.
Hmm. Let me first bring in Rajat for a personal sense of what happened with Shraddha, and then we'll talk a little bit more about why she actually withdrew that complaint. Rajat, Shraddha was reaching out to you constantly, regularly, talking about the abuse. Now we have a letter to the police, but the police has claimed that Shraddha withdrew that complaint, and this is what happens with so many women who go through domestic violence, who want to believe the best about their partners, who want to give them one more chance and one more chance and one more chance. What do you think happened in this case, Rajat?
The first time when violence was informed, it was informed in the year 2019. Shraddha informed it to a girl from our group, college group, who was then Shraddha's best friend, college days. But somehow, post 2019 till 2021, when finally Shraddha, she broke her silence. She came, she came again back to that girl and showed her back that see the way Aftab has burned my back with cigarette birds. That was something that really shocked all the friends. And they rushed to Aftab's place and were actually wanting to get him jailed. However, Shraddha herself stopped them and said, let's give him one chance. I think that one chance became something too severe. However, as I had mentioned earlier as well, 2019 was last when Shraddha had contacted any of her friends. Aftab had somehow influenced or compelled Shraddha to be cut from all her friends, be it her college friends, be it school friends, be it friends from the vicinity, and also her own family. So now here you understand that Aftab was too sharp and you say too criminal minded in some way, where it started with domestic violence. He somehow managed to pull Shraddha off her close people and everybody and anybody who can probably help her to get out of all this. Aftab made it a point that she should be away from all these people.
But Rajat, can I ask you something? Her father used the phrase "love jihad" in an interview to ANI, and you've now had politicians jumping on it. You've had BJP leaders talking about it. You yourself have, believe that there may have been elements of that. How and why? I mean, when you look at the fact that in November of 2020, Shraddha goes to the police, but by December she's talking about giving another chance. She's closing the matter. People are blaming the police, but I will ask Meeran in just a moment, what can the police do if the woman is not ready to actually stick with her complaint? What should the police be doing? And it's very complicated for women to leave relationships that they've entered in against the approval of their parents, right? Because what they start feeling is that there will be no support for them if they were to walk out. because their parents or their other people will say, देखा हमने तो बोला था. तो मैं आपसे समझना चाहती हूँ कि ये जो लव जिहाद का फ्रेज है ये क्यों आया है कॉन्वर्सेशन में, और आप भी इसको क्यों थोड़ा सा दर्जा दे रहे हैं रजत?
See, there are two things to talk about. So, if I begin with the first question that you asked me, that these politicians are entering. So, I mean, they are actually taking the mileage of this. I mean, be it BJP or, in some cases, even Congress enters. So, BJP and Congress, they are all politicians. They will speak only for their political benefits. And I don't really think that they really care about this matter. And if they do, they should have actually put a fast track court into this matter, a CBI probe, of course, because Aftab is no normal person. He's absolutely a very trained, skilled criminal. The much it is seen in the case, the way he pulled off the murder, almost cleared off all the evidences. This is something I think the politicians should be doing instead of just commenting. So that was the first question. The second question that you asked, I would address that. Why this doesn't seem like a love jihad is, it would be my question to everybody. This cannot just be love jihad. I think the much that I have been talking about, this can be somewhere, the person Afta would be related to some terrorist organization. This is very much possible. You see the way he has done the murder, the way he actually cut her off into 35 pieces, actually put her in the fridge, also dated other girls during that time. You understand about the mentality this person is holding, and he's so much chill about it. He's not really bothered that he has actually killed his live-in partner with whom he has been staying for
But
so
you know
long.
that, but you know,
And
Aftab could have been Amit, and the story would have been the same. Aftab being
yeah, of
Muslim
course.
doesn't. Yeah, so why are we calling it
Yeah,
love
I'll tell
jihad?
you why. I'll tell you why. If
Yeah,
Aftab would have been Amit, or if you would have been John, the things would have got investigated in that way. But the pattern, the way it is seen, that love jihad is a real thing. It does happen. We have seen hundreds of cases of that sort. Why can't this be seen in the same sort when
I'll
20
tell you
girls'
why.
names are taken?
Let
Why
me
can't it
answer.
be seen? Yeah.
I don't know the specifics of the Aftab Shraddha relationship, but I do know the numbers. And I see Lalitha is with us, Lalitha Kumaramangalam, senior BJP leader, former head of the National Commission for Women. But before I go to Meera and Borwankar and then to Lalitha and Meera and Vibha, here are the statistics, right? 1 in 3 Indian women have likely experienced violence in relationships, physical and emotional, both, right? This is not me. This is well chronicled, well tabulated data. But only 1 in every 10 Indian women actually formally complain about the violence that they have experienced, the abuse that they have experienced. So 1 in 3 women are experiencing it, but only 1 in every 10 women are actually complaining about it. Even pregnant women are not exempt from this. 4% of pregnant women surveyed have experienced spousal violence during their pregnancy. And 30% of all Indian women have experienced domestic violence at least once since they turned 15. So I think this is the conversation that we should be having. And if we just make it Hindu Muslim, love jihad, then actually we are leaving out millions possibly of women who are going through the same sort of spousal or intimate partner violence, Rajat. So that is my larger picture. Hold on, I'll come back to you. I want to just bring in Meera and Borwankar. Lot of questions about the police. The police say Shraddha herself withdrew and complained the case. Do you think the police should have still done something, Ms. Borwankar?
Uh, I won't like to go into should have done, but this is the way we operate. You come with a complaint. In fact, in India, uh, a complaint registration itself is a tough task. But in this particular case, because I think the language used by Shraddha was of extreme violence by her partner, police did take cognizance. When she withdrew, the overworked police staff anywhere in the country would not follow up a case, whether it's a case of domestic violence or any other case which is not criminal in the sense of domestic violence. they will not follow that if the case is withdrawn. And even law permits us kind of compromise in cases of domestic disputes, though this is a case of extreme violence. But here I want to flag a point that
Hmm.
this overworked police, which has been sensitized by us, should take help of activists and NGOs. Like in Maharashtra, we have Mahila Dakshata Samitis. Once Shraddha withdrew that case, I feel the officer should have taken women who are part of Mahila Dakshata Samiti into confidence, given them this complaint, and requested a follow up. So, this is a very good compromise in such cases where police feels we cannot follow up a case, but they take help of Mahila Dakshata Samitis, some formal or informal forums to follow up these cases. I feel that could have been done.
But when you say the police is overworked, can the police do anything? And should the police do anything if the woman herself decides to give her partner another chance? What should the police do? Because
Police,
actually physical abuse is something the state can act against anyway, right? It doesn't need the partner's consent, but then you're taking away the partner's agency. It's a highly complicated thing.
absolutely. So, I think only follow up could have been involving the activists who are formally associated in Maharashtra. In all police stations, we have Mahila Dakshata Samitis. So, I think that the officer could have done that. I cannot follow up. I am busy. I have so many cases for investigation, but you please do some home visits and be in touch with Shraddha and see when she says that he's improving, let's give him a chance, whether it's worth giving a chance or not. That much we could have done.
Right. So let me, at this point, of course, play out for you what one of the prominent politicians have actually been saying in the context of this case. I'm talking, of course, about the Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa, and then I want to come to Lalitha Kumaramangalam, who's often, by the way, taken a position that's her alone and not necessarily of her party. This is Himanta Biswa locating what has happened in the context of what he calls love jihad. Listen in.
एक आफ्ताब नाम का लड़का ने हमारा मुंबई से श्रद्धा नाम का एक लड़की को शादी करने का थोड़ा सा जो भी बात करे हम तुमको शादी करेगा ऐसे बोल के दिल्ली लेके गया। शादी तो नहीं हुआ, उनको कैसे मारा, 35 पीस किया, एक ही लड़की को 25 टुकड़ा किया। और क्या क्या जानते हैं, वो लड़की का जो मेरा बहन है, आप लोगों का बहन है, उनको फ्रीज में डाल दिया। और फ्रीज में डाल देने का बाद श्रद्धा का बॉडी फ्रीज में है और दूसरा लड़की को ले आया डेटिंग करने के लिए। फिर किसी ने, पुलिस ने इसको पूछा, भाई आप खाली हिंदू लड़की क्यों लाते हैं? बोले मैं हिंदू भावुक होता है, हिंदू का साथ बातचीत करके हिंदू लड़की का साथ बातचीत करने में भावुक हो जाता है, दे आर इमोशनल, तो उनके लिए मैं उन लोग को लेके आया हूँ। आप देखिए, देश में ये एक आफ्ताब का कहानी नहीं है, हमारा देश में और कोई ऐसा आफ्ताब श्रद्धा का कहानी है। आज देश को लाभ-जिहाद का खिलाफ सख्त से सख्त कानून का जरूरत है, और ये काम कौन कर सकता है? खाली भारतीय जनता पार्टी कर सकता है।
Lalita, I do know that in the Bilkis Bano case, you took you took a blunt position. It wasn't necessarily echoing that of your party. At this point, do you agree when the Assam Chief Minister makes this about love jihad, quote unquote, or do you think the conversation we should be having is about domestic abuse and intimate partner violence? You have seen so many of these cases when you were head of the NCW.
Barkha, I think you're looking at it from one side of the picture. The fact is that domestic violence is very, very common. It has not much to do with caste and creed, etc. It's always about the weak who are the ones who face the violence and the stronger ones who perpetrate the violence. Now, love jihad is a term that's used by a lot of people, which doesn't apply to this current poor girl who was chopped up into pieces at all, because that was not love jihad, that was murder. Pure and simple murder. I think the increasing number of relationships, interfaith relationships, especially Hindu and Muslim, that are nowadays being reported also, is what has led to this term being coined. Indian society, again, regardless of caste, creed, etc., is very, very judgmental about women. Girls are taught from a very young age that, marriage is the be all and end all of life. You can be whoever you are, even if you're Indira Gandhi. See, she was married, she had two children, blah, blah, blah. I really call it blah, blah. I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody on the show or off the show, but Indian girls are taught this. It's like it's almost become a part of our DNA. And what happens? At a certain age, all young people, regardless of their gender, there is curiosity about sex. There's so much of it that one sees on social media, on television, etc. And there's so many other silly ideas that are put into the heads of young girls about young boys who may be courting them, that we are almost always taught to love with our hearts, which is fine, but we don't use our heads at all. Common sense is just thrown out of the window, and families are
I agree.
extremely
I
quick to
agree.
judge. Yeah,
I agree with
families are
every.
extremely quick to judge. Just one moment. You were talking about why women don't report domestic violence. That's because the entire system, whether it is the police who are overworked, whose forensics is really very poor in this country, whether it is the courts that very often give bail to rapists and murderers, especially of late, everything is on the news, so it's horrific to hear. Whether it is politicians who say love jihad and just bring it down to just that and not look at the larger picture, whether it is young whether it is young girls who, having fought with their parents, are scared to go back and face the approbation they will face. Barkha, you and I are both single mothers, single women. We know the bias against single women. Girls are afraid to be, to be open about the fact that they may have had a failed love affair or a failed marriage or a failed relationship or their engagement broke. Look at all the crap we see on television in all languages, most languages. I mean, at
I
least
agree
the
with
languages I
everything
see.
you said.
Yeah,
I
so the
agree with everything
entire
you said. I
atmosphere
agree with
is so
everything you
bad.
said. I agree with
Yeah.
everything you
So
said, and I'm
we're just not
also
looking
glad.
at the whole picture. These
But
terms
do
are not important. I would say just forget about who says what. What we need to do is come up, and everybody in society is responsible, even people like you and me, because we talk on television, we talk very strongly outside. But how much of a difference have we been able to make? I can see this young lady on your show, and the temperamental of girls has been made, I would say, to be submissive, give in, adjust. कोई बात नहीं, लड़का ही तो है, वो प्यार में किया होगा. I'm saying it in Hindi, but this is said across the board in all languages. If
yeah.
you come home, our family will get a bad name. What will happen? The entire responsibility of keeping of that relationship afloat is put on the woman. Almost always. There are always, yes, there is a little change. The lucky ones who, and I really call them lucky ones who have not gone through all this. I mean, they've been very lucky and good for them.
So
But
as
the
much as you
vast
can,
majority
as
is,
much
I
as you
think,
can.
collective. It's a collective fault of
Can I, can, can,
everybody's.
can, I- can, I- can I say something? I agree with everything
Yeah.
you've said. And in your own way, you have made your disagreement with Himanta Biswa and others of your party clear, who are reducing this to some love jihad Hindu Muslim debate. Am I correct in at least interpreting that, Lalita?
I don't know if the Hindu Muslim debate is relevant here, but what is relevant is that increasingly we see in these Hindu Muslim relationships the girls suffering too much at the hands of their Muslim partners. Whether it is due to the fact that there is a religious difference or whether it is just that those chaps are, I mean, they are half psychopaths or they have no seriousness in the relationship or the girls have just made a mistake in judgment. All of this is, I mean, I really don't think it's for me to
the
judge or
the, the,
pass
the, the
comment on,
data
but it's happening.
the data tells you that women of all communities suffer at the
Yes,
hands of men of all communities. I just want to underline
patriarchy is
that,
not
right?
restricted
Yeah.
to one, patriarchy is
So
not
so I
restricted to one
I think
gender,
I
not even one gender. If you talk to LGBTQ people, they will tell you the same thing. So
yeah.
patriarchy is
But
not restricted to one gender.
but let us no, that's true. Women are also socialized often to be patriarchal in mindsets, often when we deal with other women. I do want to get Rajat, do I see your hand going up? Rajat, you wanted to say something, and then I
Yeah.
want to come to Meera, who's
Yeah.
been on a dodgy connection. I'm hoping she can hear us. Rajat, quickly, and then Meera. Rajat, yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to say something. I mean, my concern is that the case should be actually investigated from all the possible angles. That is the only concern. There is no hate here. However, there is one thing that is definitely of a very big concern, and that is when police was informed very, very clearly that an attempt to murder was done. How come police didn't really
I kind of lost you there, Rajat. You want to repeat that point? Rajat? Okay, Rajat was actually raising questions about why the police did not do more when Shraddha wrote in that letter in 2020 that Aftab was trying to kill her. And Meeran has said that maybe the police could have made house visits. The police's answer is that Shraddha herself closed the case. Let me get Meera Chopra, a well-known actor, here into this conversation. Meera, you've been talking a lot about this and what it says about the larger state of equality between men and women in personal relationships. We talk so much about public spaces not being safe for women. Actually, the private spaces are sometimes the most unsafe. Meera, go ahead with your thoughts.
I honestly feel we are missing a very larger issue here. Obviously, not taking away the fact that she was cut into 35 pieces. Only a hardcore criminal can do that. But my concern is after writing that letter in 2020, why did she stay for another 2 years? Why didn't she step out? And Barkha, honestly, I was writing about this issue a week back because I am seeing around me a lot of women very successful, financially independent, being in unhealthy, toxic relationships and not being able to move out. So I think for me, that's a much larger issue that why does that happen? And, you know, I think
Why
it
do you
has to
think
do,
it happens? Why do you
I
think it
think,
happens?
I think it has to do a lot with our conditioning. Since childhood, we are told that आदमी से ऊंची आवाज में बात नहीं करनी. Then after a certain age, we are told you need to get married. Um, you know, एक औरत एक आदमी के बिना incomplete होती है. We've been conditioned in a way that automatically there's a hierarchy in a relationship. We are told that man is above you. And when we start believing that, we are looking for their support, we are looking for their validation. And in that whole process, uh, we are programmed to not give up in a relationship. We are just programmed to make it work, no matter how. No matter how bad, how dirty it is, we have to
Yeah.
make it work. How can we not get it work? वो तो हमारे संस्कारों के against है. So
Hmm.
I think there's a whole larger issue that we need to talk about is how we are conditioned.
Yeah.
And for a
I think
woman,
yeah.
it's a scarier thought to get out of a toxic relationship. I think in a way they start feeling very comfortable in that space because
There's a word for it. It's called brutalization. When you've been brutalized by somebody, there's a part of you that kind of dies, and the part of you that dies is the capacity to feel angry. You don't want to think you made such a mistake, such a poor choice, fought with your parents, fought with your friends, itna ladai kiya, and then maybe you think to yourself, "Arey, agla aadmi kya pata isse bhi bura ho."
correct.
It's basically the yeah. Sorry, go ahead,
I
Meera,
have my
quickly.
friends who've told me that known devil is better than an unknown devil.
Yeah.
Gosh, what does that mean? Like just because of the fear that you don't know whom you're gonna meet next means that you'll go through the abuse that you're
basically
going through.
basically we make women feel incomplete without a male partner. I think that's the point Lalita was underlining, though I must disagree with Lalita in this case. I rarely disagree with her on the love jihad sort of generalization that she
I
thinks
don't
doesn't
even
apply
know
to
why
this
are we
case.
talking about that. Yeah.
We're talking about it because politicians are talking about it and it's impacting the course of the conversation. Now, Vibha wanted to jump in. Rajat is back with us. I'm going to let Rajat quickly complete his point about the police. Rajat, you were saying, why didn't the police act? The police is saying Shraddha closed the case. Go ahead, Rajat, quickly. Yeah, Rajat.
see? We need to understand the general behavior of our country's police. Like literally everyone, if you want to to the person, not file the FIR. This is the first behavior anybody can see. You, me, and all the viewers will agree to me. Mostly, I won't say all, but mostly this is what you would be able to see. Now, what happened here is after seeing that it's such a severe case, my question is, what did the police did in this 1 month before Shraddha came and she shut the case? And on what grounds she shut the case? On what grounds did the police not investigated on Aftab and not put him in jail and did not arrest him after knowing that Aftab has literally tried to murder her almost, and has been abusing her. Her friends have been knowing that. I'm so sorry. Her Aftab's parents have been knowing this. Aftab's parents had blessed them. They were supposed to get married and everything. How? I mean, Aftab's parents left Shraddha to die with Aftab. Seriously, that is
Yeah,
also
hang
a
on.
concern. I mean, the police
Okay,
and
it's a
Shraddha's
it's a valid
parents
question, but
both are involved.
okay, I want to take this back to Vibha, Meeran, and Lalitha in that order. Here's the question: what should the police do? What can the police do? Often in domestic abuse complaints, the police will be skeptical. The police will first want to assess if actually the woman will stick with the complaint, will stick through the case. Vibha, go ahead, and then Meeran. Vibha?
Yeah, so I think there are two issues which are juxtaposed here. One, of course, is with regard to the police apathy. The second, which I think is a more, what should I say, core issue, more transient issue, which is not like something which is put down in words, is about the autonomy of a woman's choice. So, what I see here is that Shraddha made a choice and she decided to go ahead with that choice, which was not supported by the support systems that she had. And
Yeah.
once she faced this kind of adversity there, she went to the police. She did pick up some strength to go there. But then I don't think that the police was sensitized enough to deal with the situation like that. And the reason why they were happy to close the complaint was because they said that it was her autonomy and it was her business. But that is not the case because the police is required to investigate. If the police does see some material which shows that some offense is committed or is likely to be committed, the police must make inquiry. It may be a different thing that the material may not show up, but in this case, definitely there was complete police apathy. They did not reach out, as Meeran just said, that they should have reached out to some, support system of counselors or the authorities under the Domestic Violence Act. And this is a case which really brings to forth a case really gone wrong, and from a domestic abuse, it has
Yeah.
escalated to a murder.
I want Meeran to respond and then Lalitha. Has the police been guilty of apathy, Meeran?
So first, I would like to give my opinion about Love-Jihad. I think we are absolutely wrong. The Assam Chief Minister or anyone who is not willing to accept that it's a case of violence by a living partner. It has. I don't see there any interfaith or any communal or any religious overtones.
Yeah.
Second, I agree with our Vibha ma'am that maybe this case was not handled as sensitively as it should have been, considering the language used, that he is threatening to kill me and cut me into pieces. These are very strong words. And but having worked in the police department, I am telling you that police is so terribly overworked that if they do justice to a case of murder, I would be very happy. In that also, we are making mistakes like this Chavla Delhi case has shown. They are sensitized. Police officers are sensitized. Therefore, we are also inducting more women in police so that we handle these issues in a much
But what
deeper
should the
way.
police do? I am confused. I understand that in that time, and Rajat raises a valid question. She complains. She says her life is in danger. She says he's going to cut me into little pieces. That's exactly what happens. A few weeks later, she closes the complaint. Now, what we don't know is, does she close the complaint because she finds the police unhelpful? Does she decide to give him another chance? We don't know what happens in those weeks. That's the point. Meeran, what would you have done? if this had come to your notice, what would you have done? And then I want Lalitha to come in. What would you have done,
Yeah.
Meeran?
So there is a one very good standard procedure, in that if we don't investigate a case, we keep an inquiry open. I would have kept the inquiry open. I would have probably asked the beat officer to visit this lady, and I would have involved some Mahila Dakshata Samiti member or some other activist to follow up the case, understanding that my officers do not have time.
Yeah. So I want to bring in Lalita, because actually you have a statement, an official statement from the police that says that the case was investigated, but Shraddha's own written statement saying that the matter had been settled effectively made no. Rajat, what are you disagreeing with? We've seen that written statement. She signed on it, Rajat.
No, 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 no. What happened in that 1 month? We have to be very responsible for that. Nothing happened. Police did nothing.
But
Literally
why did she
nothing.
close
I
it? But
mean,
you, but what did she say to you? What
she
did she
might
say
have
to you?
closed the case with some pressure. Why can't people understand that Aftab is a criminal? And Aftab was supported by her family, who can possibly a criminal. They can also be a criminal, very possibly. They
Okay,
have
fair
fleed
enough.
15 days
No, that's a
before
valid
the case has
that's a
opened.
valid point. What happened in that one
Yeah,
month is a very valid question, and I want to bring in Lalita, because this is the
yeah, I
minefield of domestic abuse. Lalita, the
exactly.
woman is often terrified of following through. The woman doesn't know where to go. She will be judged if she leaves the relationship. She was judged for having the relationship. Now she
Yes,
will be judged for leaving the relationship. Then she will be single. She's been conditioned, as Meera Chopra said, to feel she's inadequate and incomplete because she's single. She's
yeah.
judged all around. She feels she's living with a criminal. There has to be an element of fear. We cannot underestimate the element of fear, and I think Rajat is right about that. But what does the police do if the complainant is not willing necessarily to see through the complaint? And this happens in case after case involving domestic abuse.
Look, Barkha, I think here the police is at fault because one, I think they didn't act fast enough to give her a sense of reassurance. Two, I agree with what Meera Borwankar says, where she says that we also must have some sort of women's organization, whether it is an NGO or what she calls the Mahila Dakshita Samitis that are available in Maharashtra, that the police should actively reach out to and say that, look, under the law, we have our limitations. We're not able to perhaps do it, but we have an uncomfortable feeling. So could you please do a sort of informal follow-up? Most victims of domestic violence, they keep quiet because they are conditioned to keep quiet. One of the most important conditioning is that they feel that they will not get the support of those they will go to ask for support from, whether it is their family, whether it is the police, whether it is society, whether it is the lawyers, etc., etc. Most often, it is institutions like NGOs or CBOs, or who are non-governmental. Let me say that, who are not a part of the legal system. You know, who are the ones who give the moral support these women need. Many of these women, as the young lady Meera Chopra said, are financially fine. I mean, they're independent. They could be on their feet, but it's not the financial always thing that holds them back. The majority are not financially okay. They are not independent. But even for those who are, what holds them back is this sense of shame that you failed. Very rarely do we pick a quarrel with the man unless something is horrendous as this happens. And then we
Yeah.
all say, oh my God, what did she do? Why didn't she leave? Millions of people have been saying, why didn't she leave? She probably didn't leave because she didn't know where to go, how she would survive. If this boy has been such a psychopath that he could cut up her body, store it in the fridge, and then have other girls over for whatever he wanted, for whatever reason, then he must have threatened her horribly. And the fact probably that if she ever went back home, they would keep saying, Are, you brought a bad name to our family. What is this? You went with a Muslim boy, and then see what happened. What is going people if she had a sister or a brother or whatever it is?
Yeah.
From A to Z, she would have been made to feel that she is wrong, that she deserves what happened to her. And this is the psyche of 99% of women who have faced domestic violence, whether it is during pregnancy, whether it is not just always from
Absolutely.
husband, it's often from others. The mothers-in-law do it, the mothers do it, the fathers do it, the
Yeah.
cousins do it.
I
Rape is, if I start on rape, then I'll go on, I won't shut up.
yeah.
But the fact
I
is that,
wonder. I wonder if
the
it will be finally
system
a
has
context
to
to.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the system
Sorry,
has to now support women like this.
I have
But the
to close.
police in
Meera.
this case could have done better.
Okay, Meera Chopra, last word to you. Meera Chopra?
Most of the times, I've personally gone through it. Most of the times, we mistake abuse for love. And it starts from baby, why do I get angry with you? Because I love you so much. Why do I shout with you? Because I care for you so much. We mistake abuse for love. And I think that is the worst kind of
Has that
manipulation.
happened? Has that happened to you?
In a way, yes.
And
And
when
I've
did you,
seen,
or how did you discover finally that it was abuse and draw a line?
it takes time, I guess. It takes time because if it starts repeating, the same kind of behavior starts repeating, you feel that no, this is not what love is. Love is not supposed to hurt you. Love is not supposed to take your self confidence. Love is not supposed to take your self esteem. You should not be disrespected. This is not what love is. But honestly, lot of us, lot of women, they mistake abuse for love, and that's the worst kind of manipulation. And when women they stay in a toxic relationship for so long, for like 3 4 years, they are always confused. They want to stay, they don't want to stay, they don't have a clear picture.
Yes.
And
I,
yeah,
I think Lalita's trying to come in there.
Yeah.
Lalita, briefly, and
Just
then,
one
yeah.
point. Sorry to disturb you, Meera. I think it's time, Barkha, we started teaching our daughters, our friends' daughters, the people we work with, the younger girls, that for God's sake, stop being so damn tolerant. Do not
yes.
accept any violence. Stand up for yourself. If somebody, any relationship, they don't respect you, let it go to hell.
Does
You
anybody
deserve
teach
better.
us if somebody hits you,
We
hit
don't.
them
That's what
back?
I'm saying, that we need to start teaching that
Yeah.
openly, loudly, everybody. People like
I,
you and me, Barkha, who are far more experienced, who can say these things. We need to say it loudly, clearly,
and I
regardless.
was going to say to Meera, and she just went to black, unfortunately, on that very note, that once is enough. She said
Yes.
you wait for the pattern. The pattern actually becomes that you start giving another chance and another chance and another chance and another chance, and that becomes the toxic pattern. Once is enough. It is enough. At the
Actually,
same
Barkha,
time, yeah.
I would go one step further and say, not even once. The moment you think that there's a risk of violence, get out
Vibha, you
or
wanting to
get
add to
help.
that? Vibha?
There's only one problem that I see in this, that it's okay for us to say, but when we are not there to offer support, because
I
look at
agree.
the way her family has behaved. They have washed their hands off her. There was not a friend of hers who she could reach out to. There was not a police officer, not a counselor, not an NGO that she could reach out to. So it's very well for us to say that we must teach them, but it more important than that is to give them trustworthy support systems, and that is what we need to build up as a society.
I was
That's the
I
need
was
of the
going to
hour.
add I was going to add by saying that at the same time we can't keep judging women who don't leave. Women go through all sorts of hurdles in not walking out. It doesn't make their trauma any less. Rajat, you've got your hand up for a long time. I was going to close. Very brief remark, Rajat. Rajat.
By seeing this, it really reminds me of the five-star ad. When seeing the first letter, police did nothing. Seeing the second letter, people were like, "Oh, nice, he didn't do anything." I mean, this is how police ended the case. If they would have really taken necessary steps, Aftab might have feared, and Shraddha might have felt that
I,
police is there for her.
I must allow Meeran a quick word here and then give it to Meera Chopra to close. Meeran?
How Rajat is saying police did nothing. I'm sure there must be a letter. We don't have all the documents where they have warned Aftab. And I think first responsibilities of the family, friends, community, then comes police. So you are blaming police, but not ready to share any blame as a friend, as community, and as family. So this is
And
incorrect.
I have a statement from the DCP of Vasai where her complaint was filed, who says that her friend's parents also cajoled Shraddha to resolve the dispute. She then gave a written statement, but of course, Rajat keeps asking what happened in that 1 month. Okay, uh, we'll go back and forth on what the police should have done, could have done. The bottom line is this: women often convince themselves to stay, people around them convince them to stay. And Meera, this is what we were saying when we lost you briefly, 30 seconds, that it's not just ki bar bar hota hai to chodo. एक बार भी होता है या लगने लगता है कि होने वाला है तो छोड़ दो. Nothing is worth your self-respect. But equally, Vibha warns us that this can't be an elite, privileged conversation where women like us are telling other women what to do. We need to talk about support systems. Very quickly, Meera Chopra closes for us.
I think I will not. Of course, this is a murder case, but for me, the larger issue is, we need to empower our women to take a stand for themselves, not go through toxic relationships. As Kumaramangalam ma'am said, if it happens once, just get out of it. Love cannot be bitter. If it's bitter, it's not worth it.
I think the best thing that we can all agree on is that abuse is not love. Those novels that we read about the brooding, cruel man having a heart of gold somewhere inside. This is all bullshit. Mass media has also socialized us to think that we are incomplete without a relationship. We feel judged at all times when we're in a relationship, when we're out of it. And that is the suffocating quality to being female and having the entire premium being in a marriage or being in a relationship. We need to also talk about these things as we ask tough questions of what the police did, what the police could have done, and whether our politicians are tragically communalizing the murder of a young woman called Shraddha-Aftab. Leaving it there to Vibha, Meeran, Lalitha, to Meera Chopra, and to Rajat Shukla. Thank you, and to our audience, see you soon. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and